Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren and I'm a senior nursing major at Troy University. I will be going into my 4th semester of nursing school in the fall. I just finished up 3rd semester and I have a lot of tips and suggestions from myself and my classmates. I did this last semester. For my 2nd semester, I did tips, and I also did a review on how I did in my 3rd semester, so I will link both of those videos. Yeah, let's just get right on into it. Okay, so here is my Google form that I made. I have a few questions here. What is the most efficient way you studied this semester? What tips do you have for a future student going through 3rd semester? We ranked the classes from most difficult to least difficult, and then tips for each lecture and clinical, and then any other advice that they wanted to leave. So I am going to go ahead and start with the rankings. So I had 24 out of 38 students fill this form out, which I think was really good. And out of those 24, we had 19 who said adult health was the most difficult class. We had 4 who said OB was the most difficult class, and 1 person said informatics was most difficult. The second most difficult, we had 19 say that OB was second most. We had 3 say adult health was second, and then 2 said informatics was second. And then for the class that they said was least difficult, we had 23 say informatics and 1 said adult health. So that is how I would rank it overall. We ranked most difficult as adult health 2, then second most as OB, and the least difficult as informatics. Informatics was an online course, so I definitely do think that it was easier to keep up with. You kind of worked at your own pace. So definitely a little bit less difficult than some of the core classes that we had this semester. Some of the ways that people studied this semester were, they say to take the PowerPoints and make them into study guides and then study those. So whether that be writing things out or typing it up and then, speaking it out and just kind of talking through it with yourself or your friends. A lot of people did that, and they say that is what is most efficient for them. So definitely using that, using your resources, watching YouTube videos, using your friends, but definitely taking the PowerPoints that they give you, take notes on them, and then turn them into study guides and use those study guides to elaborate a little bit further on what you need. And then you will also be able to pull from each of those study guides when you're getting ready to study for your finals. Tips for future students going through 3rd semester. Most people said that it is a little bit less crazy, I guess I would say. It's a little bit less hectic than other semesters. It's not as structured, so you have a little bit more free time. But that doesn't mean that the material is easier. The material is still the same level of difficulty. You just don't have a bunch of random assignments thrown in. You do have assignments for informatics, but you don't have a bunch of just busy work, a bunch of, case studies to turn in and other things like that. So just take advantage of having a break, but don't let your exams and your other things that you have to turn in sneak up on you. Be able to manage your time. I love what this one person said. They said, this semester is more laid back than 1st or 2nd semester, but don't let that trip you up. Use this breath of fresh air for nailing down any areas that you're weak in, such as organization, studying, or time management. And I totally agree. I used my extra time this semester to work. So I work at a nutrition place and at a hospital, and then I'm also the president of my sorority. So my free time went to that this semester, and I was able to do it all. I did end up making a C, and I was really close to a B. So I personally don't think that working affected that because I wouldn't have been studying when I worked anyways, because I didn't work close to exam times. But a few other correct questions, like 3 or 4 extra points, would have made me have a B in that class. So I do not think that was an issue for me. So being able to do that is totally fine. You can totally do that. Next, we're going to talk about Adult Health 2 for the lecture and the clinical part. So for the lecture, using her PowerPoints, taking good notes on them. If you can look over before you go, do that. She will ask questions, like she'll have a bunch of questions and then you'll answer them and she'll put the rationales up. It's really helpful if you know the stuff before you go in. Using those, she puts a ton of resources up, extra PowerPoints, extra, pictures that kind of explain things, the videos by registered nurse RN or civil nursing, other things like that, using all your resources. She also lets you, or she requires that you do ATI exams, like practice exams before your actual exam, like your unit exams. So I don't know if she's still going to plan on doing that, but using those ATI questions, they do help you, especially with your test taking method, like how you're taking your exams, not necessarily the information, because sometimes they are two completely different things, but definitely using them as practice. I am actually doing 10 practice questions a day over the summer, so I'm hoping that will kind of help me with my test taking skills. For Adult Health 2 clinical, I definitely think that you should use every opportunity that you can to learn or benefit yourself in some way. So a lot of the clinical hours you might spend, just watching a nurse, or you might give medications every single time, but give them every single time and use them to practice, because I know for me, I don't want to be a new nurse and then be uncomfortable with giving medications. And I know that sounds weird, like anybody could give them, but in my opinion, I don't think that I could have too much practice. Also, I will tell this story. Some people might think it's a little bit gross, and that's okay. But I had a patient who just had a colostomy bag placed, and they needed a stool sample, so I asked, could I get it? And the nurse was like, oh, of course, like, go ahead, knock yourself out. So I did, and yeah, it's kind of gross, but now I know how to get a stool sample from a bag. So I think that it's really important that you seize every opportunity that comes your way, and if a nurse just assumes you can't do it and you can, go ahead and let them know like what you can do, or ask if you can do something. The only thing they can say is no, and you still don't get to do it. But the best thing they can do is say yes, and you do get another skill under your belt. Okay, now on to OB lecture and clinical. So for OB, we had 3 exams, and our final accounted for 30% of our grade, which most classes will have 4 or 5 exams, and your final will only count for 20 or 25% of your grade. So for OB lecture, use the PowerPoints. All of her information on her exams are going to come from that. I used my book to look up the reproductive cycles and the pelvis shapes, and that's it. So Cooper. Everybody has said to use the PowerPoints, and she also has blueprints that she posts before the exam. So go through, know what's on those blueprints. You can pull them straight from your notes, straight from the PowerPoints, and you will be just fine in that class. Be able to apply what you know to a situation, and you'll be just fine. For clinical, also seize every opportunity. For any clinical, I think that serves as a given. Just be able to say, hey, I can do that, or hey, can I do that? I want to do that, and be confident in yourself. I really, really, really wanted to be able to start a Foley catheter, and I wasn't able to, but whenever women get their epidurals before they give birth, they can't feel anything. So it's the perfect time to practice. They're not going to feel anything. It'll give you a little bit of confidence once you do one. Then that will kind of help you, oh, I can do a Foley. Then maybe you can do it on somebody who may not be as easy, or it might actually hurt, so they may kind of resist you or bear down or something. So just take every opportunity that you can, and Try to see different births, a vaginal birth, a cesarean section, whatever you can. I got to see both, and I got to see somebody get their tubes tied. It was really, really cool. So go ahead and seize every opportunity, see everything that you can, even if you just stand back and watch. It was really amazing, and I think that giving birth is just an amazing process, so special, so sweet, and I'm so glad that I was able to be a part of it. Up next is informatics. So all of the tips that I have for informatics are to do your assignments early, get ahead in that class and stay ahead. Make sure that you're giving equal effort into every assignment that you're doing. For your discussion boards, you want to do equal effort for part 1 and part 2. We have 3 discussion boards, and each of them have 2 parts, and she grades 50% from part 1 and 50% from part 2. So make sure that you're doing both parts equally, and you need to follow rubrics. So she gives a rubric for everything. That's what she grades off of. That's literally how it goes in the grade book. You can see the rubric. So make sure that you're following those for your paper, your case study, your discussion boards, anything like that. The exam she gives a blueprint for. You can find almost everything in the notes or in the PowerPoint. If you can't find it there, you can definitely find it in the book. So I would say that her book was beneficial for this class. So I do suggest getting it. We actually had the third exam of 4. We had 4 exams, but the third exam and our final exam were open book, open note. So I would suggest getting the book. You can use it. I mean, I would assume that she kind of lets other classes, depending on how they're doing, use their book. So as long as you don't lose her trust, you're not allowed to have a pen or any kind of paper other than your notes. So you can't write any questions down. But it was a fairly easy class, in my opinion. Just stay ahead of your work. I think I ended the class with a 97 or 98, which is kind of unheard of for like a class in nursing school. So get ahead, stay ahead, and you'll be just fine. Alrighty, y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. That is all I have for this video. Thank you to my classmates who will be graduating spring of 2022. We have a year left. Thank y'all for filling this form out so that I could make this happen. I hope that this video helps somebody. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer anything that I can. I will do it as quick as possible. So go ahead and subscribe down below, like this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.